Hello, fellow readers, and welcome back to another review. This one is actually for a direct sequel to The Wild Robot. This one is The Wild Robot Escapes, which I finished recently, and it centers around Roz and her journey through basically civilization and trying to get back to the island that she calls home. Now, this one is I would say I enjoyed it just as much, if not a little bit more, than the first one. Mainly because I like having Roz interact with all of this, what was supposed to be where she was like built and made and designed for, because it's kind of revealed in this book more than anything else that she was designed to be kind of like just a helper robot, but also like a farming unit as well, which kind of it gets touched upon in the movies, the not the movies, but the movie, because in the movie we see raw like a bunch of Rosum units in like this in the dome taking care of plants during the winter season, and it kind of heavily implies that Roz is supposed to be working a field. And the start of this book, for majority of the first half of the book, is her being on a farm taking care of like cows and machines that help with the farming and the cows, and just in general being a farming robot. So that's like what she does from majority, like half the book, not majority. She even meets wolves and fights wolves. Well, not really. It's more like she finds a solution that doesn't lead in violence, because something that kind of is interesting really is that the movie, back with the first book and the movie and stuff, right? They don't really outright tell you that Ross can't hurt anyone. They actually go through it in other ways, like with mainly in the movie, like Brightbill flying with the flocks and going, the Roz, like the robots can't hurt you because they're programmed not to. And like from what I remember from the movie and stuff, is that they kind of do a more roundabout way of showing that Roz can't hurt. But it's like a very prevalent issue in the books. Whenever there's danger and stuff, she can't fight back because she's literally programmed not to fight back. And that even if she could fight back, she would try to find a peaceful solution otherwise, because she believes that there is a peaceful solution to everything. So how she deals with these wolves is in a similar vein. She can't hurt them, so she has to do other ways to make the wolves go away to protect the cows. And she does this by taking the shotgun from the farmer, because he's like, you have to deal with them the only way how, like, only way you can, which is shooting them. And she's like, I can't do that. Even my programming tells me I can't do this. But she takes the rifle anyway, not because she's going to shoot them, but because she figures out that she can trick them into thinking that she can kill them, basically. Because as far as they don't know that the robot can kill. As far as they know, they like they don't know she can't do it. So she just basically aims the weapon, and the wolves flee the farm and can't come back, because the, she said, I would kill you if you come back, even though she can't. But it works, and that's a really creative way of making sure the wolves don't hurt the cows. Another, though Shadow, one of the wolves, is a main antagonist of the book, because when she finally gets to escape and leave the farm, he actually follows her for quite a distance and tries to attack her again with his mate. And then and that time they failed because she was able to again trick them with some I gosh, what did she do in that part of the book? Because she gets down and I can't remember what oh, she threw stones at him. Yeah, so she threw stones at Shadow and his mate Barb, I think her name was, and that gets them away so that she can run away. And then the last time she encounters Shadow, she attacks him with she doesn't attack him. What she does is she gets in this rowboat and starts rowing across this like I forgot the word for it, but it's basically the ocean, and they're trying to cross to the other sides where there's like a town and stuff, and that gets rid of him once and for all. But it doesn't work. The plan kind of falls through because the waves get too rough and the boat breaks, and so Ross sinks and almost dies. But a whale rescues her. That's another thing is that because of Roz and her son Brightbill, they become really famous in the wild. Like everyone knows who Roz and Brightbill are and what their relationship is. And so the story spreads throughout all of the like all of the wilderness, and they're like, yeah, we're going to help this robot if we ever meet her. And that's why a lot of animals actually come to her rescue throughout this book. There's a flock of like millions of pigeons when she gets to the city that help her. And then there's also rats that are friends with the pigeons that also know about her that help her go through the different areas and stuff of the city. And it's a really nice book in the way that they basically like every all of nature is trying to basically reclaim her, and she wants to be reclaimed by nature because that's where she wants to be. And and even the children at the beginning in that because the farmer has two kids and they're the reason why she's able to escape, because she tells them stories when she's pretending to be a normal robot. She tells them stories, and then eventually, when Bright Bill finally finds her and they reunite, they realize that she's not like they walk in and realize she's not normal. And she explains that this is, yeah, those stories were actually my stories, like my truth, my reality. And the kids just go, yeah, we want to help you escape, actually. And they are the reason why she's able to escape because they get rid of her transmitter, which is one of the main reasons that like it's the tracker. And so they get rid of it and fix her up and send her, and they wait until Bright Bill returns and then she leaves. So that was a really sweet thing because she didn't want to leave the farm, mainly because she did get used to living there and she did see the cows and the human family as well a part of her family and her will, like her life. And so she felt bad for leaving them, but also she didn't want to stay because she felt more at home on the island, like her home is the island. And so she didn't really she knew she didn't belong there because she would have to pretend to be a normal robot, and she didn't want to do that for the rest of her robot life. But when they get to the city, it becomes a disaster zone because it's packed with humans and robots alike, and of course everyone knows that there's this Rosum unit basically running around trying to escape. And so they track her down, though without though they have to fight to track her down because she's running, the pigeons are helping her, and the rats are helping her, and like all of the small critters are helping her find ways around it. But she eventually gets cornered, as she does. um and she has this actually really tearful like goodbye to Bright Bill because she's like, I'm sorry, but this is the end of my journey. Like, I cannot continue on. There's nowhere of escape. And it's really upsetting because you it literally in the book it goes and makes the next pages entirely black as she's like powered down, because she doesn't even just get shut down, she accidentally falls because she was moving when the robots told her not to move, so they shot her, and so she fell down from the roof and was broken basically. Her body was so badly mangled. And that's when she, after that page, you get to meet the creator of all the robots basically that are like not like but are of the same type of models and ideas. And her name is like, I think Dr. Malvo, I believe it's pronounced. She's kind of a really she is a really sweet old lady actually, because she's the one that's loved robotics and has been building robots for a long time, and Razum is the most unique that she's ever seen. And while she says that Razum might be defect, like it's defect, Roz kind of back talks her and says it's a beautiful, like it's a beautiful defect or something like that, because it's the most beautiful thing that has ever been witnessed, like at least for her. She's like, this is beautiful for me at least, and I will not be affected by. Yes, she calls it the beautiful, like that type chat. Chapter title is called the beautiful glitch. She, because Roz doesn't see it the same way, and even the creator doesn't see it the same way. Like they both see it as a very, like this is a very beautiful moment for Roz and what is capable of robots. But they still have to destroy Roz's old body because, as far as human, like even Dr. Marvel's like, yeah, humans aren't ready for you, so we're gonna, you're like, I'm gonna have to kill you even when we get done talking, because they're like, they'll freak out if they don't see you dead. And then so they destroy Roz's old body, but then she wakes up in a new body that's stronger and a bit bigger and better, and she realizes that she is being like, she is so, her creator basically is just like, you're beautiful, like you're a beautiful creation, and it would be a waste to kill you. But we had to get rid of your old body and make it look like you did die. So once we're ready, I'm gonna take you back to your island, and we're like, you're gonna be put on your island again, and you're gonna live there for the rest of your robot life. And so Roz and Brightbill kind of stay with Dr. Malvo for a little bit, and then return to the island because they stay there for a bit because Dr. Marvel's like, you guys deserve a little rest and like recuperation, because this entire journey must have been really, like, really stressful for the both of you. And I want you guys to relax for a bit before I send you back to the island. So they do that, and then they basically airship back to the island because it's still in the records. And what Dr. Malvo is basically saying is that once she leaves the island is going to basically become a big secret that will never be touched or bothered again by human interaction. Like they're going to make sure that this doesn't happen as far as she is able to. And overall, the book ends with just this beautiful um, little drawing of Roz and Bright Bill sitting on like a cliff watching the sunset, or it's a sunrise, I can't remember. But it's just a very touching, very close moment where the two realize that their like journey is over, at least for right now, and that they get to live on their island and be together. overall, I really like this one, and I like the ending of this one a lot better. But that's because it's a sec. It wraps up the story that had a cliffhanger really by the end of the first book. And while the first book had a more open ending and could be taken as a single book, I do like the Wild Robot Escapes because it expands upon the world that we know. Because in the first book, it's all about the island. Like, we only know the island and everything on it, just like Roz. So when we get to this book, it opens up a lot of doors about what the world is like outside of that and what has happened while like in time, and while the robots, how robots really and technology have advanced, because they even hint that the water level has risen in this world, because while they're flying back to the island, they Roz talks about very briefly how there's like outcroppings and islands that may or may not be in the water, that may or may not be buildings, which heavily implies that the this world, the water level has risen, and so there's a lot more water but less land, and that's probably why some of the things like the island and stuff. And it also has been hinted at in the first book too, because the first book, the critter the wild creatures talk about how the island used to have more land before the water rose and killed off a bunch of them because it couldn't support the population for of after the water rose. And so that's why I really like this book, is it does expand upon all of this stuff that kind of is hinted at or talked about very so briefly in the first book, that it becomes a center stage in this one. And it's also nice to know that Roz basically gets a better body that's able to tough out the wilderness much better than before, and she gets to reunite with her son and have this happily ever after. I also still love the artwork that is throughout this book. It really adds to the story, and how it affects like how it affects the storytelling is really showing you all these details that would have otherwise been kind of like backseated. Um, like the scene where uh there's a drawing of the tornado, and then there's like an entire page dedicated to this like really big drawing of when the children take Roz apart and are like trying to figure out how to put her back together, and it's like all her parts are all over the place. It's a tad disturbing because we see at least when I was reading it, you even though it's constantly stated that she's a robot and and all that, you kind of forget that she can be taken apart the way that she can. There's other scenes when she reunites with Brightbill and their heads are touching. It's really cute because it shows like, yeah. And again, like when I talked about the entirely black page, it really shows you how impactful this ending could be. So yeah, the drawings add a level of storytelling to the overall story without having to speak a word. And that's why I really like the drawings, and I'm happy that they're not gone. I hope they never go away, really. But overall, I really like the story, and I'm happy. I feel like this is a great way to end the series. And yeah, I know that there's a third book, and I may or may not read it because I'm kind of happy with how the second book ended. That I feel like I just don't really want to read the third book because I felt like all the loose ends were tied up really nicely in the second book that I personally don't think the third one would is drawing my interest as much as the first two were. But overall, I love the stories. I think the artwork is amazing. And I just I really like the wild robot escapes. Bye bye.